Vandeham Shri Guroshi Yatha Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Sya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Saganaraganatam Pitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shivishakam Pitam Sya Om Ajnana Timaranda Shagyana Jana Shalakaya Chakshurum Nitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Gurva Bhistam Sapuragam Gurganara Sisha Sambhushitam Chintya Chintya Samasta Vedanipanam Shri Rupa Patanugam Govinda Bidam Ujwalam Bharatanum Bhaktyan Vidam Sundaram Bande Vishwa Gurun Shah Divyat Bhagavat Premno Ebijapradam Devam Divyatanum Suchanda Varanam Balarka Chelan Shitam Sandrananda Puram Sadeka Varanam Vairagya Vidyamburim Sri Siddhanta Nidhim Subhakti Lasitam Saraswatanam Baram Bandetam Shubharam Mareka Sharanam Nyasishwara Siddharam Mansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyavascha Patitanam Pavinibhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Namo Mahavaranyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namane Gauratavishe Namah. We're hearing from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, translation and commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. This is Madhya-lila, chapter 10, the Lord's return to Jagannath Puri. We'll start with verse number 151. Aradine Makunda Data Kohe Prabhustane Brahmananda Bharati Aila Tomara Darshane. The next day, Makunda Datta informed Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has come to see you. Agyadeho Jadi Tare Aniye Etai Prabhu Kohe Guru Teho Jabataratai. Makunda Datta then asked the Lord, shall I bring him here? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Brahmananda Bharati is like my spiritual master. It is better that I go to him. So, Eta Boli Mahaprabhu Bhakta Gana Sanghe Chali Aila Brahmananda Bharatira Age. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees came into the presence of Brahmananda Bharati. Brahmananda Puriyache Mriga Charambar Tahadeki Prabhu Dukkha Paila Antar. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees approached him, they saw that he was wearing a deer skin. Saying that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became very unhappy. Brahmananda Bharati belonged to the Shankar Sampradaya. The title Brahmananda Bharati indicates a member of one of that Sampradaya's 10 classes of sannyasis. It's customary for a person who has renounced the world to cover his body with a deer skin or the bark of a tree. This is enjoined by the Manu Samhita. But if a sannyasi who has renounced the world simply wears a deer skin and does not spiritually advance, he is bewildered by false prestige. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not like to see Brahmananda Bharati wearing a deer skin. Well, yeah, it was an old consideration. The sannyasis in olden times could wear deer skins, but Mahaprabhu was not like a person who just rested on some outdated consideration. He didn't like to see Brahmananda Bharati in a deerskin. He thought it was just a matter of using the deerskin as for no good reason, just as for his own prestige. So Mahaprabhu didn't like that. Dekiya touch chadma koila jina dekima nai mukundere puchekahan Bharati Gosai. Seeing Brahmananda Bharati wearing the deerskin, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pretended not to see him. Instead, he asked Makunda Datta, where's Brahmananda Bharati? Where's Brahmananda Bharati? My spiritual master. Mukunda Kohe E age deka vidyaman Prabhu ko hete ho nahin tumi agayan. Mukundadatta replied, here's Brahmananda Bharati in your presence. The Lord replied, you are incorrect. This is not Brahmananda Bharati. Anjariyanya kaha nahi tomara gyan Bharati gosai kene paribena cham. You must be talking of someone else, for this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Bharati wear a deer skin? Shuni Brahmananda Kori, Ridoye Bichare, Mora Charmam Bara E Na Bai Ihare. When Brahmananda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deer skin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
Maharaj ki.
You must be talking of someone else, for this is surely not Brahmananda Bharati. You simply have no knowledge. Why should Brahmananda Bharati wear a deerskin? Shuni Brahmananda Kore, Ridoye Vichare, Moracharam, Baraena, Baya Ihare. When Brahmananda Bharati heard this, he thought, my deerskin is not approved by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Baloko hen Charambarad, Damba Lagi Pari, Charmambara Paridane Samsarana Tari. Thus admitting his mistake, Brahmananda Bharati thought, he spoke well. I put on this deerskin only for prestige. I cannot cross over the ocean of Nesha simply by wearing a deerskin. Aje hoite na pariba e charmambar Prabhu bahirbasa Anaila Janiya Antar. From today on, I shall not wear this deerskin. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati decided this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, understanding his mind, immediately sent for the robes of a sannyasi. Charmambara Chari Brahmananda Parilapasan Prabhu Ashe Koila Tarach Charana Bandhan. As soon as Brahmananda Bharati gave up his deerskin and covered himself with sannyasi robes, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and offered his respects at his lotus feet. Bharati ko he tomara achar loka shikaite punana koribe nati bhaya paya chite. Brahmananda Bharati said, you instruct the general populace by your behavior. I will not do anything against your wishes. Otherwise, you will not offer me respects, but will neglect me. I'm afraid of this. Sampratika Dui Brahma Ihan Chala Chao Jagannatha Chala Brahma Tumita Sachao. At the present moment, I see two Brahmins. One Brahman is Lord Jagannath, who does not move, and the other Brahman, who is moving, is you. Lord Jagannath is the Archa Vigraha, the worshipful deity, and it is he who is the non-moving Brahman. But you are Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and you are moving here and there. The two of you are the same Brahman, master of the material nature, but you are playing two parts, one moving and one not moving. In this way, two Brahmans are now residing at Jagannath Puri, Purushottama. So we might note also that some humor is occurring here, but this is typical of persons who follow that line of Shankar Sampradaya. They're always talking about they always refer to the spiritual nature as Brahman, like Tumi Gora Barna Teho Shamala Barna Dui Brahmi Koila Sab Jagat Tarana. Of the two Brahmans, you are fair complexion, and the other, Lord Jagannath, is blackish. Both of you are delivering the whole world. Prabhu ko he satya ko he tomar agamane dui brahma prakatila Sri Purushotame. Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, actually, to tell you the truth, due to your presence, there are now two Brahmans at Jagannath Puri. Brahmananda Nama Tumi Gora Brahmachal Shamavarna Jagannath Vasi Jachin Achal. Both Brahmananda and Gaurahari are moving, whereas the blackish Lord Jagannath is sitting tight and immobile. Brahmananda Bharati wanted to prove that there is no difference between the Supreme Lord and the Jiva, whereas Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted to prove that he and Brahmananda Bharati were Jivas, and that although the Jivas are Brahman, they are many, but the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Brahman is one. On the other hand, Brahmananda Bharati also wanted to prove that Jagannath and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are one, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but that to fulfill his mission, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared to be moving, whereas Lord Jagannath appeared to be inert. Thus, this jolly argument was going on. Finally, Brahmananda Bharati referred the whole matter to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for a final decision. Bharati kohe Sarvabhauma Madhyashtahaya Ihanas Sani Amar Nyaya Buja Manadiya. Brahmananda Bharati said, my dear Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, please become the mediator in this logical argument between Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and me. Vyapa Vyapaka Bhabe Jiva Brahmejani Jiva Vyapa Brahma Vyapika Shastrate Bhakani. Brahmananda Bharati continued, the living entity is localized, whereas the Supreme Brahman is all-pervading. That is the verdict of the revealed scriptures. Brahmananda Bharati drew Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya's attention because he wanted him to judge the argument. He then stated that Brahman, the Supreme Lord, is all-pervading. This is confirmed by Lord Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita. Chetra Gyan Chapi Mam Vidi Sarva Chetreshu Bharata. Chetra Gyayor Gyanam Yat Tads Gyanam Matam Mama. O Sayana Bharata, Arjuna, you should understand that I'm also the knower in all bodies, and to understand this body and its knower is called knowledge. That is my opinion. The Supreme Personality of God in His Paramatma feature is expanded everywhere. The Brahma Samhita says, Andantarasta Paramanu Chayantarastam. By virtue of his all-pervading nature, the Supreme Lord is within the universe as well as within all elements of the universe. He is even within the atom. In this way, the Supreme Lord Govinda is all-pervasive. On the other hand, the living entities are very, very small. It is said that the living entity is 1/10,000th of the tip of a hair. Therefore, the living entity is localized. Living entities rest on the Brahmana effulgence, the bodily rays of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Charma Guchayan Koila Amare Shodan Dohara Vyapa Vyapakatbe Etakaran. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu purified me by taking away my deerskin. This is proof that he is all-pervasive and all-powerful, and that I am subordinate to him. Brahmananda Bharati herein asserts that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Brahman, and that he is the subordinate, and that he, Brahmananda Bharati, is the subordinate Brahman. This is confirmed in the Vedas. Nitya Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is Brahman or Parabrahman, the chief of all living entities. Both the Supreme Brahman, or the personality of God, and the living entities are persons, but the Supreme Brahman is the predominator, whereas the living entities are predominated. Suvarna Varna Hemango Varangas Chandanagadi Sannyasa Krich Chama Shanta Nishta Shanti Parayana. His bodily hue is golden, and his whole body is like molten gold. Every part of his body is very beautifully constructed and smeared with sandalwood pulp. Accepting the renounced order, the Lord is always equipoised. He is firmly fixed in his mission of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, and he is firmly situated in his dualistic conclusion and in his peace. So this is in the Mahabharata's Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra. And this stotra actually refers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as indication he's the Supreme Lord, or as sometimes said, Chana Avatar, hidden appearance of the Lord. But this confirms Mahaprabhu's divinity, and Brahmananda Bharati is citing this verse to say that Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Brahman. Not that one, the other one.
No, the other one is nice.
Oh, you want the fan off?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's going slow, but let him adjust it. You can adjust it.
I think it's not.
Esam namera iha hoy Nijaspad Chandanakta Prasada Dora Sri Bhuje Angad. All the symptoms mentioned in the verse from the Vishnu Sahasranam Stotra are visible in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. His arms are decorated with sandalwood pulp, and the thread received from the Sri Jagannath deity, and these are his ornamental bangles. Bhattacharya kohe bharati deki tomar jai, Prabhu kohe jai koha say satya hoy. After hearing this, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya rendered his judgment, saying, Brahmananda Bharati, I see that you are victorious. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, I accept whatever Brahmananda Bharati has said. It is quite all right with me. Guru Sishya Nyaya Satya Sishyara Parajai Bharati Kohe Eho Nahi Anya Hetu Hoy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus posed himself as the disciple and accepted Brahmananda Bharati as his spiritual master. He then said, the disciple is certainly defeated in an argument with his spiritual master. Brahmananda Bharati immediately countered these words, saying, this is not the cause of your defeat. There is another cause. Bhaktatai haratumi etomara swabhava hara eg shunatumi apana prabhava. It is your natural characteristic to accept defeat at the hands of your devotee. There is also another glory of yours which I asked you to hear attentively. Ajanma korinu mui nirakara dhyan tomadeki Krishna hoila mora vidyaman. I have been meditating on the impersonal Brahman since my birth, but since I have seen you, I have fully experienced Krishna. Brahmananda Bharati admitted that when there is an argument between the spiritual master and the disciple, the spiritual master is naturally victorious, although the disciple may put forward a strong argument. In other words, it is customary that the words of the spiritual master are more worshipable than the words of a disciple. Under the circumstances, since Brahmananda Bharati was in the position of a spiritual master or a senior devotee, senior to Mahaprabhu in age, since Brahmananda Bharati was in the position of a spiritual master, he emerged victorious over Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who presented himself as Brahmananda Bharati's disciple. However, Brahmananda Bharati reversed the argument and took the position of a devotee, stating that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna. This means that the Lord was voluntarily defeated out of affection for his devotee. He was defeated voluntarily because no one can defeat the Supreme Lord. Concerning this, the words of Bhishma and Srimad Bhagavatam are important. Svanigamam apahaya mat pratigyam ritam adikartum avapluto ratastaha dhritarata charano bhyayats chaladgur harer eva hantum ibam gatotariyaha. Fulfilling my desire and sacrificing his own promise, he got down from the chariot, took up its wheel, and ran toward me hurriedly, just as a lion goes to kill an elephant. He even dropped his outer garment on the way. Krishna promised not to fight in the battle of Kurukshetra, but Bhishma, in order to break Krishna's promise, attacked Arjuna in such a vigorous way that Krishna was obliged to take up a chariot wheel and attack Bhishma. The Lord did this to show that his devotee was being maintained at the sacrifice of his own promise. Brahmananda Bharati said, "Since the beginning of my life, I was attached to impersonal Brahman realization, but as soon as I saw you, I became very much attached to the personality of God at Krishna. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Lord Krishna himself, and thus Brahmananda Bharati became his devotee." Krishna nama svure muke mane netre Krishna tomake tadrupa deki hridaya shatrishna. Brahmananda Bharati continued, "Since I have seen you, I have been feeling Lord Krishna's presence in my mind and have been seeing him before my eyes. I now want to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna. Over and above this, within my heart, I consider you to be Krishna, and I am therefore very eager to serve you. Bilva mangal koila jaitshe dasha apanar ihadeki se dasha hoila amar." Bilva Mangal Thakur abandoned his impersonal realization for the realization of the personality of Godhead. I now see that my condition is similar to his, for it has already changed. Advaita Viti Patikar Upasha Svananda Simasana Labda Dikshaha Shatena Kenapi Vayam Hatena Dashi Krite Gopavadu Vitena. Brahmananda Bharati then quotes this verse from Bilva Mangal, who says, "Although I was worshipped by those on the path of monism and initiated into self-realization through the yoga system, I've never nonetheless been forcibly turned into a maidservant by some cunning boy who is always joking with the gopis." So in that verse, Bilva Mangal said, previously I was worshipped in the Advaita Sampradaya, that's impersonal Sampradaya, and I was given a very prestigious position, but I gave up all of that to become a devotee of that Lord who is always playing mischievously with the gopis. So it's a nice verse. It's from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, quoted in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but it's composed by Bilva Mangal Thakur. Prabhu kohe Krishna tomar gara prema hoy jahan netra paritahan Sri Krishna svaroy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, "You have a deep ecstatic love for Krishna, therefore wherever you turn your eyes, you simply heighten your Krishna consciousness. So Mahaprabhu sometimes uses this, I'll call it in a good-natured way, this ploy that Mahaprabhu, when someone sees him as the Supreme Lord, then sometimes Mahaprabhu just says, well, you're such an advanced devotee that wherever you look, you always see the presence of the Lord. In other words, he evades that comment that Mahaprabhu is the Lord himself. Bhattacharya kohe dohara susatya bachan agechare Krishna dena sakat darshan. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the statements of both you are, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, the statements of both of you are correct. Krishna gives direct audience through his mercy. Premavina kabu nahe taras sakatkar ihara kripate hoy darshana ihar. Without having ecstatic love for Krishna, one cannot see him directly. Therefore, through the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Brahmananda Bharati has acquired direct vision of the Lord. Prabhu kohe Vishnu Vishnu e kaha sarvabhauma atistuti hoy e nindara lakan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, what are you saying? Lord Vishnu saved me. Such a glorification is simply another form of blasphemy. So Mahaprabhu says Vishnu, Vishnu. And this means that Mahaprabhu is saying calling a jiva soul the Supreme Lord is a form of blasphemy. But Mahaprabhu is saying that, and he says Vishnu, Vishnu when someone calls him the Supreme Lord. But actually, in this case, both Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Brahmananda Bharati are correct that Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Lord, but because he's presenting himself as a devotee, not as a Supreme Lord, he says you cannot call a jiva soul the Supreme Lord. But Mahaprabhu is not a jiva soul. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is a little embarrassed by the Bhattacharya statements, therefore he uttered the name Vishnu to save himself. The Lord herein confirms that if one is overestimated, glorification is just another form of blasphemy. In this way, he protests the so-called offensive statement. He's saying, you cannot call me the Supreme Lord. But the devotees will refer to Mahaprabhu in that way because he is the Supreme Lord, although he may protest. Etabole Bharatire Loya Nijavasa Aila Bharati Gosai Prabhur Nikate Rohila. After saying this, Mahaprabhu took Brahmananda Bharati with him to his residence. From that time on, Brahmananda Bharati remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After saying this, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took Brahmananda Bharati with him to his residence. From that time on, Brahmananda Bharati remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So Brahmananda Bharati stayed near the Gambhir also with Mahaprabhu. Ramabhadracharya Ara Bhagavanacharya Prabhupari Rohila Duhe Chari Sarvakarya. Later, Ramabhadra Acharya and Bhagavanacharya joined them and giving up all other responsibilities remained under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Kashishvar Gosai Aila Aradine Samana Koriya Prabhu Rakila Nijastane. The next day, Kashishvar Gosai also came and remained with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who received him with great respect. So when Govinda, Mahaprabhu's servant, came, he said, I was sent here by Ishwara Puri to serve you. And he said, along with myself, I was also Kashishvar Gosai was asked by Ishwara Puri to come here and serve, but Kashishwar Gosai will be here in a few days. Now Kashishwar has arrived. Prabhu ke loya karana Ishwara darshan age log bida sab kori nivaran. Kashishwar used to usher Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu into the Jagannath temple. He would precede the Lord into the crowd and keep the people from touching him. So Kashishwar is, people would crowd Mahaprabhu to try and touch him. Kashishwar was big and strong, and he would prevent the people from crowding Mahaprabhu, and he'd keep them aside. Reminds me a little of, in that function of Aravinda Lochan. Jatanara nari jaiche samudre miloy aiche Mahaprabhu bhakta jahan tahan hoy. As all the rivers flow into the sea, all the devotees throughout the country finally came to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's shelter. Sabyashi Milina Prabhu Sri Charane Prabhu Kripa Kore Sabai Rakila Nijastane. Since all the devotees came to him for shelter, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu showed them all mercy and kept them under his protection. Etan Kohila Prabhu Vaishnava Milan Ihaje Shune Pai Chaitanya Charan. Thus I have described the meeting of all the Vaishnavas with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Whoever hears this description ultimately attains shelter at his lotus feet. Shri Rupa Raghunath Parijara As Chaitanya Charitamrita Kohe Krishna Das. Praying at the lotus feet of Shri Rupa and Shri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I Krishna Das narrate Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, following in their footsteps. Thus then the Bhaktivedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya-lila, 10th chapter, describing the Lord's meeting the Vaishnavas upon his return to Jagannath Puri from South India. So this is a nice description of what's happening, that Mahaprabhu first came to Jagannath Puri, he converted Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, and then almost immediately left for South India, and he was gone for some time. And during that time, in part based on a conversion of Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, everyone was eagerly awaiting Mahaprabhu, and they all wanted to surrender at his lotus feet. So this is the significance of Mahaprabhu coming to Jagannath Puri, that so many devotees will take shelter of him. So now I'm going to sing the Hari Haraya, and we'll end here. Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Jadavaya Nama Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan Giridhari Gopinatha Maranamon Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Chandra Ganadhara Shiva Sadi Kora Bhakta Vrinda Jai Rupa Sanatan Bhakta Raghunath Shri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunath Echai Gosai Kori Chana Nabandan Jai Te Vignana Shabishta Puran. Hey Jai Gosai Jar Mui Taradan. Sasavar Pada Renu Mora Panchagras. Tader Charana Sevi Bhakta Sanibas. Janame Janame More Abilas. Hey Jai Gosai Jabe Braje Koilabas. Radha Krishna Nitya-lila Korila Prakash. Anande Bolo Hari Bhaja Vrindavan. Shri Guru Vaishnava Paramajayaman. Shri Guru Vaishnava Padma Koriya. Harinam Sankirtana Kohe Naratamadas. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gora Haribo, 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 Haribo. Jai Saparikara Shishi Guru Guranga Gandharvika Giridhari Joki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Tilak Nirya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Nirmalacharya Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajaka Ashtatara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Parvajaka Ashtatara Sadasi Shrimad Srila Bhakti Rakak Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Bhagavan Srila Bhakti Sananta Saraswati Goswami Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Sachidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Vaishnava Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Rupanuga Guru Marga Ki Jai. Namachari Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jiva Gopal Bhatta Dasha Raghunath, Shad Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Prem Se Gaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Shri Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. And Vishwavaranya Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Bhakti Kushamashram Maharaj ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Shri Navadip Dham ki jai, Shri Mayapur ki jai, Saparshada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai, Saparshada Sriman Mahaprabhu ki jai, Shri Kolavip ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai, Sokel Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Sevashram ki jai, Ganga Devi ki jai, Tulasi Maharani ki jai, Bhakti Devi ki jai, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Govardhan Sham Kana Radha Kunda Kalindi Munda Ju ki jai, Shri Purushottam Madam ki jai, Baladev Subhadra Jagannath Ju ki jai, Bhakti Vigna Vinashaya Shri Nrsingadev ki jai, Bhakta Prabhara Shri Prahlad Maharaj ki jai, Samaveda Bhakta Vrinda ki jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki jai, all the assembled devotees ki jai. Gaur Brahmanande Hari Hari Bol.
Srila Bhakti Savan Janardana Maharaj ki jai.